The Solana Crossroads event is happening May 11th and 12th in Istanbul in Turkey, and I definitely think you should go. I'm going to tell you why, but first, a little bit of information about the actual event. So this is a Twitter here, make sure you're following them, at Solana Crossroad, and it's very, very simple. 3,000 attendees, 50 plus speakers for 2 days, and this is in a very famous part of the world. Turkey is where Europe meets Asia, East meets West. This has been organized by Step Finance and it's the second year running. If you're familiar with other networks such as Ethereum, you know they have different Ethereum events in different countries at different times. And this is one of the things that we need for Solana. We've got the Breakpoint event in Singapore in September, and now we've got this one in May. So to get a ticket, just go to solanacrossroads.com and we'll get a ticket here and then just order ticket. The early bird pricing ends in less than 72 hours. And my suggestion would be to get the VIP package here, so you've got lunch included and access to the parties. Of course, if you miss out, the price is still very reasonable at $600. Now, sometimes I think it's very helpful if you haven't been to a place to have a little bit of understanding of exactly what happens in that country, the customs and things like that. And I'll give you more information closer to the time, but what I will say right now is it's happening here at this Hilton. Now, I can't pronounce the Turkish words, so I'm not going to make a fool out of myself. But right here, Hilton, Istanbul, we have the actual event. I've spoken to a couple of people from Istanbul. So I'm going to mention a couple of things. One thing is the traffic is very, very bad. So you are better off to be well within walking distance to the Hilton. Ideally staying at the Hilton if you can. If not, being very, very close by. You can have a look on the map, of course, and just go from like directions from say here to here. It's a 10-minute walk. Maybe a little bit further away, it's a 20-minute walk. You may see that it says 7 minutes in a car or 11 minutes on public transport. But the issue is, as soon as rush hour happens, this can take 30 minutes or an hour or 2 hours. It can be quite insane. Now, you may not know where Turkey is. If you're from the US or a country not very close to Turkey, or maybe you've never heard of it, I'll just give you a little bit of context. So this is deemed the East, and this is deemed the West. We have Italy over here, Greece here, and for more context, Saudi Arabia, Dubai, Israel, Lebanon, and Syria, and then Turkey. And Turkey's quite massive. Then right in the middle here, we have literally the west part and the east part. So this is where Asia meets Europe. And although you may do some sightseeing over here, in general, most people will be spending more time on the European side. Now, once again, end of April, I'll make a decent tutorial for anyone that's actually going. But I definitely do suggest that you go, and I will remind you over the next coming months. To get around, you want to get a transportation card, and maybe to make it easier, maybe just a 3 or 5 day unlimited pass. The local currency is the lira. If you want to, you can get a small amount of liras at the actual airport where they will have a bad exchange rate. And then when you get to your hotel or into the center, you can go to places where the exchange rate is far more fairer. There is some demand for euros and US dollars, but the local currency is lira and they have to accept that. Now, 1,000 euros gets a decent amount of liras, and this would go very, very far in Istanbul. So for just general spending, you may not need more than say 500 euros worth. And the same applies with US dollars. 500 US dollars would probably be sufficient. Now, most big countries such as the US, UK, Australia, etc., they can just pay for a visa on arrival. We're looking at about 2,300 Turkish lira, which is about 74 US dollars. Now, Istanbul is famous for its mosques. You can visit a lot of these mosques, and Islam is the dominant religion. However, you are still allowed to drink alcohol in this country. I'm just saying that now because a lot of people think you can't. When it comes to food, it's a very meat-heavy diet. They're very, very famous for their doner kebabs. And this dish is kenda. I may be mispronouncing it. This is very, very famous. They're also famous for their pastries and baked goods, as well as their sweets such as Turkish delight and baklava as well. If you're a vegan or vegetarian, you will be able to find food, so don't worry about that. But it's definitely more a dominant meat culture. When you're not at the conference, and if it's good weather, you can get out on the water and see Istanbul from the water. And just for an expectation on temperature, it will be kind of the end of spring. You'll be looking at highs of around 22 degrees and lows of 13, which is approximately 57 to 70 degrees Fahrenheit. Also, some advice that I was given is when you're booking a hotel in this area, you can look at staying at either a hotel or Airbnb, but you can put on your Turkish VPN if you want to see a lower price potentially. You may need to, you may not need to. So that's a little bit about Turkey. Now, with the event itself, I'm sure you're pretty much aware of how these events go. But this is the current agenda, so it's just all fit into 2 days. So if you want to come a day earlier and leave a day later, then you still have time to see Istanbul. I'm very excited to head to the Solana Crossroads event, and I think it's very important that these events take place. This is how an ecosystem grows with in real life activations as well. So if you're keen to come, go book your tickets. Now remember, this is not meant to be a sales pitch or anything like that. The value in the event is massive. I'm more trying to give you information on Istanbul itself, because I know it's good to get a nice little summary of a country before you've actually been there. And as I said, at the end of April, I'll give more information. But right now, book your ticket and book your accommodation close to the hotel. Also, ideally, if your hotel offers some sort of shuttle service, that's probably going to be the best way, because public transport from the airport will take over an hour, and taxis tend to rip you off from what the local people have told me. Anyway, I'm super excited. I hope to see you there.